Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Protect them from what? 1923 reminded me of my favorite part of Season 1, and I hope Taylor Sheridan is foreshadowing something terrifying. 1923 Season 2 story will see the newly wedded Spencer and Alex Dutton on their respective journeys to find each other after being separated in Season 1's ending. In Season 2, Episode 1, Alex explains that Spencer needs to return to Montana to protect his family, to which her friend Jennifer responds by questioning what they need to be protected from. She mentions bears as an example, referencing back to some of the most powerful scenes from the first season and hopefully foreshadowing more like it. As much as I enjoyed the power dynamics and conflict occurring in the Montana portion of Season 1's story, I was always more excited about Spencer's journey in Africa. I went into the show for Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, but left it as a fan of Brandon Sklenar and Julia Schlatfer. The romance story was phenomenal, with Episode 2's ending potentially being my favorite moment in any Taylor Sheridan show. My affection for the characters only contributed to the intense, jaw-dropping animal attack scenes. The car being rammed by an elephant was one thing, but I distinctly remember being glued to the screen when they were stuck in a tree fending off lions. It's such a phenomenal scene and unlike anything I've seen before on television. Not to mention, it wasn't something I expected from a Yellowstone spinoff. To top that off, the shark attack while Spencer and Dutton were stranded in the middle of the ocean was terrifying nightmare fuel. Those were unforgettable scenes, and I hope there's more of them in Season 2. With Jennifer mentioning the potential of the Duttons having to protect themselves from bears, I'm hoping this is a Chekhov's gun plot element for something later in the season. To have Spencer traveling through America and eventually have to face a bear would be outstanding, or any character for that matter. Aside from being enjoyable entertainment, these scenes represent the aforementioned conflicts that distinguish 1923 from Yellowstone. This is an older period, and the battles the Duttons must face are more raw and animalistic. We've seen the Duttons face business people, criminals, politicians, journalists, and more trying to bring down the Yellowstone ranch, so it's vital for the prequel show to introduce fresh stakes. Of course, the animals are going to take over and manage the cattle, but they serve as a representation of this era's conflicts. Just as the Duttons in 1883 were victims of their environment on the frontier, the Duttons of 1923 can just as easily be surrounded by a pride of lions or an antagonistic posse of gunmen. Aside from just the possibility of a bear sometime later in the season, the Season 2 premiere already saw an animal attack. 1923 Season 1, Episode 2's ending saw a mountain lion nearly maul Elizabeth Dutton before Kara saved her. Taylor Sheridan isn't new to using animal metaphors in his series. Just recently, Landman Season 1 saw its main protagonist examining a coyote in Texas, offering critical symbolism for the show. The mountain lion in 1923 represents the dire situation the Duttons have found themselves in back at home. 1923 Season 2, which will be the show's final run, will see Spencer Dutton returning home to defend his family from those who seek to destroy them. He's developed a reputation for himself in Africa and other countries overseas as a lion hunter. In this case, Kara was able to defend her family from just one lion. But in order to defeat an entire metaphorical pride, they'll need Spencer to unite them. 1923's animal attacks offer excitement that no other Taylor Sheridan show has to offer, but they're also deeply important to the show's thematic value. In the ever-expanding Yellowstone universe, Taylor Sheridan has proven time and again that his storytelling thrives on legacy, loyalty, and the inescapable grip of fate. While 1923 carves its own bloody path through the history of the Dutton family, its echoes of Yellowstone Season 1 are impossible to ignore, especially when it comes to one chilling question: protect them from what? That line, uttered by John Dutton, Kevin Costner, in Yellowstone Season 1, haunts the family like an unrelenting specter. It's not just about the dangers of ranching, the greed of land developers, or the threat of enemies encroaching on the empire. It's about something deeper, more sinister, something that 1923 may be on the verge of revealing in a way that makes its modern-day counterpart even more harrowing. Could Sheridan be foreshadowing a terrifying revelation that recontextualizes the entire Dutton saga? The Weight of the Past. 1923 follows Jacob and Kara Dutton, Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, the steadfast guardians of the Yellowstone Ranch in an era defined by prohibition, economic instability, and ruthless expansionism. Their struggles are as brutal as the Montana winters they endure, but one of the most striking aspects of 1923 is the way it mirrors the conflicts of the present-day Duttons. The threats faced by Jacob Dutton, corrupt politicians, corporate greed, and violent rivals, are the same forces that plague John Dutton a century later. This cyclical nature of the family's hardships suggests that their battle is more than generational, it's something intrinsic to the land itself. And that brings us back to that ominous question. Protect them from what? The Dutton curse, a legacy of violence. If there's one thing 1923 has reinforced, it's that the Dutton family isn't just fighting external enemies. They're fighting something woven into the fabric of their existence. We've seen generations of Duttons murdered, betrayed, and sacrificed for the land. Consider how 1923 introduces a level of brutality unseen in its predecessors. The series doesn't just focus on land disputes, it delves into systemic violence, colonialism, and the haunting specter of generational trauma. This is particularly evident in the subplot surrounding Tina Rainwater, whose horrific experiences at a Catholic boarding school mirror the historic suffering of Native Americans. The fact that her last name is Rainwater, a direct connection to Thomas Rainwater from Yellowstone, hints that this battle isn't just about the Duttons. It's about the land itself and who truly holds the right to claim it. A supernatural undertone. What if Sheridan is laying the groundwork for something even darker, a supernatural element buried beneath the surface of Yellowstone? While the franchise has never explicitly leaned into horror or the paranormal, there's an undeniable sense of doom that follows the Duttons. Some fan theories suggest that the land carries a curse, one tied to its violent past. If 1923 continues to explore the spiritual and mystical elements introduced through Tina Rainwater's storyline, it could fundamentally shift our understanding of Yellowstone and its history. Could the Duttons be fighting an unseen force that dooms them to repeat the same tragic fate over and over? The modern implications. If 1923 is indeed foreshadowing a larger revelation, then John Dutton's cryptic Season 1 question, protect them from what, becomes more loaded than ever. Is he simply referring to land developers and political threats, or is there something more ominous at play? The ranch is more than just a piece of property. It's an entity unto itself, one that demands blood, sacrifice, and unwavering loyalty. Consider the fates of major Dutton family members across different timelines. In 1883, Elsa Dutton's tragic death at the hands of Lakota warriors sets the foundation for what becomes the Yellowstone Ranch. In 1923, Spencer Dutton faces unspeakable horrors in Africa, potentially marking another chapter in the family's cursed existence. In Yellowstone, Lee Dutton's death in the pilot episode, Casey's repeated brushes with death, and Beth's scars all suggest that the ranch exacts a heavy toll on those who seek to protect it.